Now we're going to take a closer look at the three main types of blood vessels and compare their structures. If you observe the diagram, you can clearly see how each vessel is built differently to suit its function. Arteries have thick, strong, and elastic walls with very small lumens. This is because they carry blood away from the heart under high pressure, so they need sturdy walls to withstand that force. Veins, on the other hand, have thinner walls and much larger lumens. They transport blood back toward the heart at lower pressure, so they do not require thick walls. Instead, their wide lumens help the smooth flow of blood, and many of them contain valves to prevent backflow. Capillaries are the simplest and thinnest of all, made up of just a single layer of cells with extremely tiny lumens. The delicate structure allows substances like oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste materials to easily pass in and out of the blood. So overall, the structural differences, whether it is the thickness of the wall, the size of the lumen, or the presence of muscle and elastic fibers, are directly related to the roles these vessels play in the circulatory system. Arteries have thick muscular and elastic layers, veins have thinner layers, and capillaries have none at all, because they are specialized for exchange rather than pressure. Again, now if you look at this diagram, you can clearly notice the differences in the tube-like structure of each blood vessel. An artery has a thick outer wall, a narrow lumen, and a very thick middle layer made of smooth muscle. This strong structure helps it withstand the high pressure of blood coming directly from the heart. While a vein, however, has a thinner outer wall and a much larger lumen. Its inner lining, called the intima, contains valves that prevent blood from flowing backward. The middle layer is also quite thin compared to that of an artery, reflecting the lower pressure of blood moving toward the heart. And on the other hand, a capillary is the simplest of all, with a very tiny lumen and a wall made of just a single layer of cells. This extremely thin structure allows easy exchange of gases, nutrients, and waste materials between the blood and the surrounding tissues. When we compare these blood vessels by looking at their cross-sectional view, the structural differences become very clear. The artery has a much thicker inner wall layer and a smaller, perfectly circular lumen. This strong, thick layer helps the artery withstand the high pressure of blood being pumped directly from the heart. In contrast, the vein shows a wider, more flattened lumen with a much thinner inner wall layer, which is suitable for carrying blood back to the heart under lower pressure. The capillary is the smallest of all, consisting of only a single layer of endothelial cells, which allows gases, nutrients, and waste materials to easily pass in and out of the bloodstream. When you examine the diagram closely, you can clearly see these differences. The artery's lumen appears small and round, whereas the vein's lumen is larger and often looks slightly flattened or irregular in shape. The artery also has a significantly thicker inner wall layer, giving it a stronger and more robust appearance compared to the thinner and softer wall of the vein. The capillary, being extremely tiny, stands out because it does not have multiple layers like the artery and vein. Instead, it is made up of just one thin layer of endothelial cells, perfectly designed for efficient exchange of substances between the blood and surrounding tissues. Overall, arteries, veins, and capillaries differ greatly in their size, wall thickness, and structural design, is clearly shown in the diagram and supported by biological principles. Arteries have the thickest walls and a relatively narrow lumen, a structure that enables them to withstand the high pressure of blood being forcefully pumped out of the heart. Veins, in contrast, have thinner walls and a much wider lumen. Because they operate under lower pressure, they often appear more flattened in cross-section. Capillaries are the smallest and thinnest of all blood vessels, their walls are only 1 cell thick, making them microscopic in size and perfectly suited for exchange. Structurally, arteries and veins share a similar basic layout, consisting of 3 layers, the inner intima, the middle muscular layer, and the outer protective layer. However, arteries have a much thicker and more elastic middle layer, which helps them maintain pressure and adjust to the force of blood flow. Veins have thinner layers overall and contain valves within their inner lining to prevent the backward flow of blood, a crucial adaptation for low-pressure return to the heart. Capillaries, unlike both arteries and veins, consist of only a single layer of endothelial cells. This extremely thin structure allows oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, and waste materials to diffuse easily between the blood and the surrounding tissues.